Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. Um, I'm here to review episode 17, written by Art Wallace, narrated by Alexander Mulkey Isles, directed by the lovely Leela Swift. Um, so this starts off very simply that David is having a bad dream. We're in David's room. He's saying no, no, no. Um, he wakes up, runs toward the window, opens the window, and stands upon a ledge. Elizabeth comes in the room, gets him down. No, I didn't mean to kill him. Um, very. I love how there's a lot of ways you can interpret. If you were Elizabeth, you could interpret David doing this. You could just, oh, he had a nightmare. B, he's sleepwalking. But I think Liz really clarifies this. You just had a nightmare, David. I don't remember what you were saying. You didn't, really great job. And I love the fact that we get Joan Bennett's character, Elizabeth, holding David, comforting him. This is not the only episode that shows David has a conscience. In the prior episode, he really get again. I talked about how Victoria Winters gets David to think about what does his dad really hate him. So it lets you know that David does have a conscience. And this episode cements that even further. Now, when we go to Dr. Reeves' office, there's a plaque that says Dr. Reeves. You see the shot, and it's spelled the same way George Reeves' last name was. I'm going to call this right here, and if you learn that I'm wrong, please let me know. I'll admit it. In fact, I may be wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm going to say this is a literal shout out to the late George Reeves, who died of a gunshot wound. Notice I didn't say it was self inflicted, because I don't think it was, but that's just my opinion. The late George Reeves died in 1959. This would only be 7 years after his death. So, because this is 1966, I do think this is a shout out to the late George Reeves, who played the Man of Steel, who played Superman. In my opinion, it is. I could be wrong, but I do think this is a shout out to the late George Reeves. Um, at least a nod and honor to him in a sense. Um, I just the reason I say that is because it's spelled the same way. It says Reeves. You know, it it again, Doctor Reeves. I honestly think this is a shout out to the late George Reeves. Um, just saying. So we see Bill Malloy um, inside the doctor's out in a waiting area, if you will. Um, he tells the doctor, are you going to be here? He goes, yeah, unless somebody, I forget who he says, goes into labor. Um, you have Bill Malloy goes, I'm going to look at that wreckage. I'm going to look at the car, and the car, you know, and he goes. The doctor says something here. He says, I think an accident was, needed to be looked at, and not this. When Bill Malloy says not this time, he's meaning it's not an accident. That's what it's sensing. He's saying. I love Frank Schofield's verbiage here. It's very. He's been working for the Collinses a little too long. Um, so when we see uh Rogers arm, I like how they have the cast, little small cast on Lewis Edmonds' arm. They make him wear like a satchel to hold up the arm, and he does tell Roger you only have to wear the satchel for a day or two. So Dr. Reeves does, to clarify pronouns, pal pronouns. Uh, so you literally have Dr. Reeves telling him that. you only have to wear the satchel for a day or two and you'll be all right. So, um, yeah, everybody's, you know, tell the doctor tells Roger he's lucky to it was only this, and Roger does say, I thought I was gonna be laying on a slab. So again, it's a heavy episode in a lot of ways because they're talking about car accidents, they're talking about the morbid of death, um, of what death could, Roger could be dead, but he's not, obviously. Dark Shadows always got into a. I've said this before. Dark Shadows was always dealt with mature subjects, and it did. I mean, we have the look. There's the fun stuff like the special effects and all that stuff, and the ghosts that you see, the cool effects, the fire for the Phoenix later, Barnabas obviously coming way later. But when you get into the subject material of Dark Shadows, it really gets into a heavy adult conversation. And this is the whole series to me. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't fun moments and funny moments. There are. But Dark Shadows always dealt with, mature subject matter, whether it be the supernatural world or not be the supernatural world. And they do a really good job of doing that. You also, and you have Dr. Reeves talks about the incident that happened where Burke killed, the man that was killed by Burke's car. It's a good thing that, Bill Malloy wasn't walking up that hill when Roger came down because it could have been like 18 years ago. This is where you sort of get the hint that Roger was involved in that accident, or he may have been the one who caused the accident 18 years ago because he reacts very quickly to Dr. Reeves. It's very, very good. Um, Go listen. Just don't take my word for this. Go watch this episode. It's really, really all of them really, they're really good. Um, David is, he's unable to sleep. Liz, the shutter's banging. Liz comes in and latches it. She, even says that she must have not got it tightly enough. David wants his aunt to, please stay with me. um, he he also tells his aunt, please don't tell anybody about my dream, and he more asks it than anything, and Liz says to him, well, sure, if you don't want me to, I won't tell, but there's no shame in having a bad dream. Elizabeth just feels that David doesn't want to appear, less in his dad's eyes. That's how Liz is sort of viewing this. And again, you got to keep in mind too. Does this make Liz gullible? I've said that a character sort of being gullible makes them more realistic. It gives them that sort of flawed sense that okay, this character is somewhat falling for David's stuff. Really, I don't think it's fully that though. Keep in mind, Liz had a younger brother named Roger Collins who probably looked up to his dad and didn't want to look weak in his dad's eyes. So there's that. Um, you know, Liz tells him, "Why don't you put on red? We'll go downstairs. We'll wait for your dad, Mister Malloy, Mister Boy." Uh, I love this drawn sketch we have here of the bleeder valve, and Bill Malloy asks Roger, "What do you know about bleeder valves?" And he goes, you know, I know the car, you turn the keys ignition, you shut off the ignition. That's about as far as my limitation goes. Um, Burke always, what Bill explains is that somebody had to remove that bleeder valve. Roger suspects Burke. Why wouldn't he? Bill says, "Well, you got to prove it. You can't just, he cautions him that. Elizabeth and back in the Collinwood, Liz and David wait for Roger to arrive. Elizabeth is telling David about his ancestor Isaac Collins, who founded the town. Um, you know, why not? History's history, right? Um, David runs and he. I love how he opens the window, and he Elizabeth is reassuring David that his father wasn't hurt badly. Um, this again, I talk about dark subject matter, and Dark Shadows really does. David turns to Liz and says, "Did you ever hate your father?" He also wants to know how she felt when he died. Liz says it's such a strange question because I've told you he's not dead. He's only hurt. He's okay. Um, but Liz says I cried for several days, about her own death. Um, we hear the car pull up, and that's when David says, "I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him," and runs off. He goes somewhere, probably upstairs. Uh, Roger tells Bill not to, hint at anything about, to Elizabeth. I love how Roger Collins is here. Lewis Edmonds is like, "Well, the soldier's home for the war, Liz." That's so good. This I've talked about. You can't really hate Lewis Edmonds' character. I'm going to mention something here. Lewis Edmonds' character, yes, can be a jerk. I'm not saying that. But Lewis Edmonds has such a natural charm, and it comes through and it comes across when he's playing Roger. And I do feel he's bringing a lot of that to Roger because Roger's supposed to be charismatic. We do get the arrogance of somebody being rich. That does come across. Lewis Edmonds does bring that across to Roger, a very proud man. He does bring that across. But the great thing about the O4 on air pilot is that Roger Collins, if we would have got him, was a complete and utter bastard. He was that right there was just full on mean. This Roger, the Roger we love and know, yeah, he can be mean. He can lie. We get all that. But Lewis Edmonds, Roger Collins is also charming and witty. He knows when to turn that charm on too, and it just shows in these episodes. I mean, yeah, you're picking up that there's something going on with this character. There's something going on with Roger right away. And this episode cements it even further, but you also get the fact that he's so charming when he's talking to his sister, like he's playing it off like it's no big deal. And when they go into the drawing room, that's when Liz lays it on him that Miss Winters saw Burke buy Roger's car, and Roger's like looking at Bill, "See, didn't I tell you?" And then he really shows that he's not happy. Um, he found that Miss Winters found him there earlier. So Roger feels that, hey, this confirms my suspicion. He did it. He's guilty no matter what. And that's how Roger is looking at this situation. Remainder of the actual facts be damned. Um, Elizabeth asked Bill to find Carolyn. Roger wants to go up to Victoria's room and interrogate her. David, he just lurks underneath the stairs. I wonder if this was an inspiration for people under the stairs. Not saying it was. Could be. Could be. Well, not saying it was. Great episode. Really, really fun. I just really enjoy the cool things we get in this episode. First of all, we we get a shout out, in my opinion, to the late George Reeves. We also know that that the character of Dr. Reeves is the doctor we first meet. So we don't first meet Dr. Dave Woodard. This is Dr. Reeves, um, which is really really cool. So you get a new character, you get some intrigue, you get some accusation thrown at Burke. By the way, keep in mind there's no there's no Mitchell Ryan in this episode. There's no Nancy Barrett in this episode. They both get mentioned in it. I've talked about this before, and I'll talk about it again throughout Dark Shadows as I go along. Just because you don't see characters in Dark Shadows, they mention them in the episode to keep them fresh in your mind. And they do that absolutely, my friends. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Another thing too that I noticed about this episode, I noticed that David Hennessy's character does look a bit taller in a sense, does look a bit older. But again, though, too, that I think that's more of the film. He again, the camera I heard can be tricky, so in my mind, he looks a little older. But keep in mind, this is still the same. This is still Vicky's first day on the job. This is still that night. So the second day we're in Collinsport, but Vicky's first full day in Collinsport. It's her second night though. Am I confusing you at all? Great, great. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm kidding. um, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Look, I love these episodes. I'm a sucker for the beginning episodes. I'll defend them to the death. Not literally. I'll defend them at least. I hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of it. Take care.